My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as, what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com. The views and opinions expressed on Geekfather are those of the panelists and not those of the Geeks Under the Influence Network, their affiliates, or sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. This is for the parents and not for the kiddies.
Geekfire!
Can you try one more time? Say Geekfather real loud.
Geekfire way out! I just did it.
Hey guys, welcome back. That's right, it's Scotty P here with another new episode of The Geekfather, coming to you with all the trials and tribulations of being a geeky parent while we're getting through this wild and crazy world. You know, we've talked about pandemic, we've had ice, we've had snow. So I thought it would be a great idea, and you've heard me talk about it before with Kyle. We finally are able to have a little bit of fun instead of talking about all the craziness with virtual learning and everything else going on. We have a great friend here with us, comic book writer, entrepreneur, if you will, and everything. I give you Mr. Christopher Elston. Howdy, sir.
What's going on?
How you doing?
Not much, brother. I'm all right, man. Just trying to hang in there.
Yeah? Okay. I know we've been catching up a little bit more recently. Just to give everybody a quick overview, what is it that you do currently? I know we both have. I've been helping you out. Kind of. There's a new project dropping next month, but overall, what have you been doing? I know you like Flash Delirium LLC. Give us a quick rundown on what's going on there and what you do in life, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, Flash Delirium LLC is a company that my fiance and I both started. We're both writers of film and comic books, and that's our first love is comics.
Awesome.
So we tried to submit things in the past to different publishers, but just like everybody else, you know, when you're not a name and don't really have a lot under your belt, you get rejections.
Right.
So we said, you know what? Instead of let's do our own thing. You know, we had enough knowledge under our belts and we had a lot of resources, so we were in a position where we could start our own company, and that's where we're at now with Flash Delirium.
Yeah, and it's just getting off the ground. I mean, you guys literally started this. I think some planning was going on ahead of time, but you started this in the middle of a pandemic, 2020, and really getting it off the ground.
Yeah, timing, man. It just, who could have predicted any of this stuff?
True, but it's more props to you guys for still doing it. That's the whole thing. That's the way I take it anyway, so, hey.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, you know, the comic book community is a big community. There's a lot of guys and gals out there doing this stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, and that just gave us more motivation to keep going forward. But as far as how long we've been doing this, we've actually been working on the comic book stuff for a number of years.
Right.
The company itself was something we talked about in the past. We toyed around with the idea just in case we couldn't get somebody to pick us up.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in a position within this last year to do the company, you know, and that's amidst, you know, my fiance getting really sick and taking care of her, and she pulled through it, you know, and family stuff.
Yeah. Well, what we always talk about here, I mean, the family stuff is number one reason for anything, good or bad, on what we're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and that's another thing. Like, they've been real supportive. You know, everybody is on board. Like, my kids, they're really excited about it. And
good.
My son, he's actually a little bit of a internet personality himself, and he's, you know, willing to help us out with some cross promotion because he's all about the TikTok, and I know nothing about. Oh,
yeah. See, that, I mean, I know very little on the TikTok. See, all your kids are even older. You had them youngins. Well, you were a youngin. You were a baby having babies.
Yeah.
You know, as us old fogies like to say these days. You know, but yeah, I mean, and that's great. I mean, and hey, cross generational cross promotion for however it works. If he's able to use the TikTok for it, man, TikTok. By the way, guys, I'll go ahead and just say it now because Chris and I, we've already been talking, and he is already part GUI, man. Where we just get in these old man tangents and go on these conversations. So let me go ahead and say this now. Everything we talk about, the new project or even projects coming up, we might get a little exclusive mention about even after the new project, a newer project coming as well.
Yeah.
But all the links, everything that we can provide information-wise, contact to Chris, Flash Delirium, everything we can for that, guys. We'll post with the episodes and all that, so keep an eye out. A lot of it is just good old, well, these days it's just good old Facebook communication, really. But once you guys get the website built, and that, because that's still in progress right now, you mentioned before, right?
Well, it's coming, yeah.
Okay.
Very close to finishing.
Excellent. So, I know, and again, see, that's why I say, me and you already talked GY, so that's why I was like, I gotta get Chris on here, this is awesome. But that was one of the biggest differences that we've always talked about, because most people on Geekfather, the oldest we typically have is our friend F.U. Hunter. His oldest son is 17. Your youngest is 17.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was early bird, you know, but I wouldn't take any back. I'm very, very blessed and happy.
Good. And see, and that's all you could ask for, man. I mean, whether it's 16, 18, I didn't have my first one until I was technically 35. It's just the way it works.
Bad, man.
Yeah. So, but we all still come together. We all love being geeks about what we do, what we are, and everything. And it's right. And just even here for a little bit of where at least a couple of your kids I know kind of are taking up the mantle into some type of geekdom as well, and related, which is always good. Like I always brag about Logan, my oldest, he's my video game nerd, man. You know, he loves his PlayStation. We play games all the time or whenever possible. I think Leland's turning into my horror movie friend. Even though he just turned 4. Yeah, it's nice because he's only 4. So we'll see if he kind of hits that level that Logan did at one point of where he freaks out all of a sudden after. Well, like, whoa. Obviously, I won't show him everything. But
yeah, of course. I was there too.
Oh, yeah. But he's definitely been, keeping an eye on, like, The Walking Dead a little bit and he's caught other stuff that Logan, like, you used to watch when he was younger. But Logan hit that point of where he's just like, he just straight up was like, nope, too scary for my taste. Now, he could come back to it, hopefully, but Leland has been holding strong so far. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that's how a lot of my kids were like, they all love horror. All my kids love horror.
Nice.
You know, and it's like a tradition. When I was young, I watched a lot of horror movies. I mean, there were certain ones I should not have watched when I was young, but, you know.
Well, especially us growing up in, like, especially the 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff in the 80s for that, yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, like, I mean, I remember being a little kid, you know, I was we had a house, had a basement that was pretty, you know, had a TV and stuff down there. I had, like, boxes and boxes of Betamax tapes and stuff, and I was watching everything, you know.
Nice.
And my mom, she was a big horror buff.
Okay.
But that passed along to my kids. Now, with my kids, I wouldn't let them watch anything, you know what I mean? They watch, like, the Givens, like, you know, the Freddys and Jasons, and they all knew who Ash was. Like, they knew the actor's name. They knew who Bruce Campbell was, who Robert Englund was. It was really cool.
Nice.
You know?
That's awesome. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And they always talk about it now.
Oh, yeah.
Like my oldest daughter.
And really, and I was always afraid of that with, especially Logan being my first, and I've talked about it on other episodes, where I was always afraid of, like, did I push certain things on him too quickly, being so young that he just got to that point where he's just like, I'm already fed up with it and I'm only 4 years old. I don't want to see this. Like Star Wars and stuff. They still like Star Wars, fortunately, but they're not head over heels. Where you kind of hope for as a parent, where you're like, let's nerd out together. I'll take what I could get. So. Right.
But you know what I think it is? Like, I just watch my kids growing up with this stuff. They have more access to stuff than we did.
Oh, yes.
You know, everything's on the internet now with them. So they got to get on YouTube and see this stuff. With us, we had to wait for it to drop on cable, or we had our VHSs out, record it was on TV.
And
but
it was
now,
expensive,
it's so
too.
much. Yes, it was. Dude, you know, it was a long time before I saw E.T. That was like the one film when I was a kid. I did not see it for a long time because
Really?
my parents couldn't take me to the theater to buy it. That thing was like $100 VHS tape, I think, back when it first came out.
Right?
You know, but I saw everything else like Indiana Jones and all that.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, always certain ones that you don't catch until later for one reason or another, for sure. We actually last year, and I only say this because we're approaching the 1 year since GalaxyCon was basically a good line for some of us on when the pandemic kind of started, because there was a lot of talk of it at GalaxyCon last year. And if I remember correctly, that's the Geekfather panel. That's what we talked about, was the big difference with the cons starting back in the 60s, 70s, in comparison to how they are now, with the access to information, the cosplay that happens, the different just products that are out there in comparison to, like, I grew up in like a pretty decent size or near a decent sized city, and I really still didn't hear about certain conventions until living here in Virginia as a teenager about certain stuff. So
yeah, it's crazy how things have changed so much, man. Even like, you know, like now with movies, right? Like most of the kids now, like they just get on. There's so many people who do reviews now or reaction videos. Back when we were growing up, like I remember, like when you saw a trailer on TV, that was an event.
Oh yeah,
because you didn't know what's coming. Like, I mean, when a new Freddy movie came out or whatever, you didn't know what was coming out. You know, when you saw part 3, that was it. Until maybe we'll see one or not. Then boom.
Yeah, it wasn't a week later of them already writing a script or some internet access. It was hopefully someone in your local news area liked horror movies enough to try to get updates from Hollywood, quote unquote. You know,
exactly.
So.
I miss those. I mean, do you remember how the newspapers, how you should have like the showings in the newspapers?
Oh, yes.
Pictures. I used to cut all those out and stuff and paste them on boards and stuff.
Dude, you take it to a whole new level from me, man. Nice. Yeah, see, I never did that, but it was definitely one of those where, depending if it was the Sunday paper or just a weekday, where I would look for the comic strips. And then check out the movie. Even if I had no idea if I was going to be able to go to a movie that week, I still checked the schedule. I still looked to see what movie was out there and what I wanted to see. You know, it was like early version of trying to take mental notes on what's out there, what I want to try to do in life that week. So,
I out the same way, man. I mean, unfortunately for me, I didn't really get to go to movie theaters till I was a little bit my later teens. So a lot of my movie experience was the cable TV. You know, so I saw a lot of that stuff just on, you know, the old school Cinemax, HBO, when it actually showed cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's say, I think there's been some jokes before, but when cable first started, we probably had some of the biggest advantages because they had no new material based on the standards. Right. So they had to bring in all the old stuff or all the B-rated movies and, you know, where, I mean, the time era, which I know there's a couple documentaries of, like those Saturday night, like, Ghoulfest, like, and I'm not just talking about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, I'm talking about, the names are going to escape me now, where...
USA Saturday Nightmares was one of them.
Those, or just Up All Night with Rhonda Shear.
Yeah. Commander USA.
Yeah, we were talking about Joe Bob earlier. He started out on TNT.
Yeah, Joe Bob. That's
you know,
right.
with At the Drive-In and everything. Yeah, dude. I mean, and I'm even talking about those shows where they purposely were so cheesy and had no budget, like the local access type channels of like Dr. Ghoulies Midnight Movie or something, whatever. Yeah, and all the main names escape me at this point, of course, and as soon as we're done recording this tonight, I know I'm going to remember all of them. So I'll try to even put that in some of the post credits as well.
Well, remember, because I grew up in Maryland when I was younger, but they're all kind of all the states had the same broadcast.
Oh yeah.
Like
and any halfway decent town had somebody dressing up in some sort of goofy ass monster makeup or evil scientist doctor and showed some type of movie that normally was not in theaters. Even back when it was a new movie, it probably didn't go to regular theaters, and had some type of Midnight Madness on Saturday, a monster movie showing something. So, and those were so much fun.
Yeah, the Godzilla and Kung Fu movies. That was the ones I remember the most. They would show like about 3 of them things. Like back to back. I watched all of them.
Yeah, it was never one. It was always like at least 2 or 3 back to back during any of these marathons or anything.
Right.
I even remember when Fox was new, Fox 35 or whatever here, the local Fox, before it was really like just more known for being Fox News or whatever crap. They showed all sorts of stuff, especially on the weekends, because they had no current shows. Like original Star Trek series, movies, like all those great, like, B-rate 80s action movies, all sorts of stuff. It was fun times back then.
Yeah, getting back to, like, being a family and stuff, I told my kids, these are, like, stories I told my kids. Like, they didn't believe it, like, there's some kind of folklore or something.
Yes,
yes. But what blew their mind, and it's funny, and it blew my fiance's mind, too, because she's younger than me. She's, like, in her early 30s.
Yep, same with my wife.
So. Yeah, so, I got a little advantage over her and stuff.
Exactly.
Nickelodeon's where I screwed him up at. I told him, like, the old Nickelodeon was nothing like the one it is now.
No.
Do you remember, like, back when Nickelodeon first came out, it was like 3 shows they would show. It was You Can't Do on Television, Count Duckula, and Danger Mouse.
Yep.
And it would show, like, I think, like 7 to 8 o'clock. Then it would cut off. There'd be nothing else. I think in the mornings it'd be Out of Control and with Dave Kool-Aid from Full House. He was in it.
Oh, dude, yeah. The what was that one girl on the Dave Kool-Aid, that one show where he that one girl?
Yeah.
She looked like a generic Cyndi Lauper, but her whole thing was doing some weird
think it was her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they said, really? I said, but this was crazy. So late. I think like about. This had to be like 88, 89. They used to have like a variety, like a show in there to talk about news and stuff. This is Nickelodeon. And they had this one segment that would talk about horror movies. I kid you not. They actually talked about Hellraiser on a Nickelodeon show. What? Do you remember that? That's how I found out about Hellraiser.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I remember the show. Nickelodeon probably buried this. Probably don't want anybody to remember. But yeah, there was a time when they would talk about horror movies, and like they actually would talk about movies in general. But they would have a little section, and they talked about horror movies, and like they actually the fact they said Hellraiser on a Nickelodeon show, like really,
this is insane.
Wow, yeah, wow. And they showed the scene where I can't remember. The brother was up in the attic without the skin on, how he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
It showed. Yeah, like Frank. Yeah, Frank.
Yes.
Skinless Frank. Yeah, in the attic. It was weird. Like, thinking back in retrospect, like, wow, times have changed, man. Times have changed a lot.
Well, and actually, I'm going to take that as a perfect segue as well here too. I got formal and did a few questions. Now, how much we touch on the questions, because, again, like I've mentioned, we're great about you're fitting in just right for the old man tangents on this show, where we're already 20 minutes or so into recording, and we've got some great stories already. But my first question, like I said, it's a good segue into this, is that when you did start at like being more of like when you actually sat there and said, when you could say like, I am a writer, or were you done directing with some of the independent movies as well, or just the writing, by the way?
No, I did some short films.
Short films? Okay. So when you did that, was your oldest already born, or were you already like on your way to like, I know this is what I'm going to be for a career?
It was half and half. Like, I always knew I was going to do something with comic books and writing. That was just always there.
Fair.
When my first was when my first child was born, I kind of obviously I put it over on the back burner, kind of take care of the kids. So in between parenting, I was always writing. I was at least doing that,
Yeah.
And I would come up with an idea, and I would collaborate people and stuff, and we would talk about, eventually we would try things out. And again, I was young too, so I really wasn't in the right mind to actually do it as a career. It was more or less, just teaching myself, crafting my skills and working. It wasn't until about the early 2000s, and at this time, my kids were like around like in their like 5-6 years old age, and I had a little more, I won't say freedom, but I had a little more opportunity to try things out.
There you go.
And I was at a point, I was okay, I think I want to try to make some stuff. And my buddy at the time, we were back and forth. We were going to do the comic book thing, but the movie thing was kind of like, we were really itching to do the movies, because that was like, back in the day when, like, Tarantino was really hot, how Kevin Smith was making movies, and they had this whole, do-it-yourself mentality and stuff. So
the big surgence of the indie filmmakers, really, if you think about it. Yeah. Yep.
So we shot a couple little things, none of which I have anymore. I really wish I still had that stuff, But I bought like a little cheesy, like not super 8 camera, like one of hi-fi 8 camcorders, just to try stuff out. I had got like a computer just to edit, and literally this is how we did it, And my ex-wife at the time, I told her, all right, so I go to I work X amount of hours at work, on my breaks, all right, and all that stuff. And my buddy, he actually worked a job too. So, we would sit there, figure things out, write it down. During the weekdays, I would, come home, spend time with the kids and the wife. Mm-hmm. And on weekends, all right, well, like that Saturday, I would have like, a week, one day out of the weekend to shoot some stuff. Okay. And that's what we did for like a few, that was a routine. And eventually we had some, we had a little bit of stuff, made. And that was kind of like the film school aspect. I really didn't have the time or money to go to film school. I was too busy, working and taking care of things.
Sure.
So that's what we did. And the cool thing about it was I figured out, so, the kids were starting to get into, they love movies and stuff, and they liked what I was doing. So I would incorporate that with them. I would shoot other little stuff, and that would help me just to cut things together, to have things to edit, nice. And then keep them involved too and not shut them out.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good, and that made them more creative. They, they liked to read books, they liked to write stories, and they had a good understanding of movies and stuff. And nice. I know that's what made my son want to do what he does now, because he's a good editor and stuff now too, because of all this. And like my daughters, they like doing makeup and stuff. So it really worked out, and I just kind of went, that's where I kind of went with everything, and the movie thing lasted for a while, and I think at this time I wasn't in Virginia, I was in Carolina at the time, and I moved back here in not early 2000, like around 2010, 2011, mm-hmm. And I stopped making movies for a while because I was just trying to get adjusted, move back into the area, and I started meeting people around here, and we started shooting some more stuff. And because, and some things worked out, some things didn't. You know how this works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I've never been at the forefront of it, but I know like on a couple of of some of our other shows I've mentioned, I've been a part of some indie, like a zombie movie, an exploitation movie, right. Where it's like based on like how 70s gangs work, but it's modern day. But it was all done by one gentleman I know by the name of Robert Elkins, who lives down in like the mm-hmm. Colonial Heights, Cheshire area. And we would essentially make a movie on every Sunday for a few months. He would be out there filming like this zombie movie. And because at the time he was a cop, he had access to be able to get us into a cemetery without being in trouble. And everything, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and that's what he totally did on the side. Like, it was his passion, but he did, at that point where, at that time, he had 2 kids, I believe, that were older teenagers, not quite adults. So, same type of thing. I don't think they got involved with the movie stuff, but he made sure he had time for them while on the side here he was making this movie. I drive down to like Petersburg area essentially in Virginia, and we anywhere from 5 or 6 hours to 10, 12 hours, we would be running around Petersburg filming a zombie movie.
That's cool.
And totally out of his own pocket for everything. He was like, I don't want partners. I got screwed over by somebody, and does it all on his own. Yeah. He calls his production company American Eyesore, if anybody wants to look it up. But he's just done some really fun movies. Like, I'll have to, like, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, he'd be one of those, like, where if we were able to go to GalaxyCon this year, it'd be like, oh, you guys need to talk. You know, that's the type of thing it would be like. There's so many, like, we could work together so well with doing stuff, but we're stuck doing everything virtual right now, so it doesn't do as much.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, not even the epidemic, but just a pandemic.
Yeah,
it's hard, man. It's hard making movies. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, and the one that I can say is, aside from learning a lot, the people I've met. You know, this is definitely a business. It is about who you know. You know, you gotta.
Right.
You know, it's about working with people. There's the ego stuff that don't have an ego. Just, you know what I'm saying? We're willing to learn and, you know, and just be cool with people. You know, and the doors that will open up. I mean, there's a lot of, it's crazy because, like, right now, we're primarily focused on the comic book thing. But a lot of doors got opened up for that because the connection I made through the movie stuff.
There you go.
And then, you know, eventually, you know, we can go back to the movie thing. It's just easier now with the comic book stuff. And it just works out, man. It really just works out.
And a good example to set for the kids on how to work with people.
Yeah.
How to do business the right way.
Yeah, and you know, that's the biggest thing, dude. Is I just want my kids to be proud of me or something. You know,
sure.
You know, I mean, that to me means more than winning awards or being a millionaire. The fact that, you know, you made something make them happy and that they, you know, could talk and share it with people. That to me that's the real payoff there.
There you go. There you go. So within that as well, just kind of continuing on some of our questions, because I know again, you and I could just keep talking, but I want to make sure we touch on a few other things before the show is over. So and so far it's a great segue here, because really what I was thinking next of, because obviously having children at a younger age, when do you think was about that time in your life? Was there a certain age that you could think of, or a certain time where you quote unquote made the leap of, this is what I'm doing 100% of the time, no matter what? Whether you work a second job to just help out here and there, because we know comic books, movie business, even being big time, is not always consistent work technically. So
right,
you know. So I mean, was there a certain point where you're just like, I know I'm a writer, I'm going to be writing comic books, but even if I have to go get a part-time job somewhere just to make sure the lights stay on until it really kicks off. Where was that? Like, where were you at that point? Like, age-wise, what was going on?
You know, honestly, I always kind of had that mentality, but when it really, like, set in, I think I was watching, you know what it was? I was watching, this thing on Tarantino. It was I had bought the DVD of Pulp Fiction, and on that DVD, I think there was an interview with him and Charlie Rose, and he was kind of talking about how he started making movies and stuff. And he said this thing, and I never forgot it. He talked about how, like, before he made Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, how he tried to make his own little film, and he said it took him like 2 or 3 years, and he said when he finally got the film process, it was nothing. He said, like, he said it wasn't a failure, but he learned from it.
Right.
And just kept going. And when I saw it, I said, you know what? I said, dang. And this guy, he had no kids. He had no family. It was just him. So it's like, there's never going to be a point where it's this perfect storm, right?
Right.
It's never going to be, all right, everything's going to fall into place.
And if anybody says it's a random chance, or there's something that they're probably not including and telling their story about, to be perfectly honest.
Right. And I think that around that time I was like in my mid-20s, I'd be like 24, 25, and again, like up to that point, I was doing, like I told you, I was just doing little things here and there, working different jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not, the way I'm going is not the wrong path. I mean, this is pretty much everybody does, I got to work, but I also, there's no excuse. I mean, if I say I don't got time, I do got time. Instead of me, sitting in front of the TV, just watching, or just, smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer or something, I could be, working on a script, if I'm not, and the kids, if the kids are asleep, I got time to work on stuff, and got to make sacrifices. And that, I think that right there is what gave me the drive to why I'm here with you right now talking. I've always had that mentality, just
Awesome.
Don't give up and just discipline yourself.
Yep, fair enough, man. Dude, good answer. I'll give you a golf clap on that one. Good answer. No, and I appreciate that because I've looked at myself and I know there's definitely been a couple times where I was just like, oh, I should have tightened up, but I try to live with no regrets. I made a decision for a reason and stuff. And sure, I may not work the job that I've always wanted, but I've been very fortunate enough to have a job that puts the food on the table, keeps a roof over the head, and allows me the time to have a show to bring you on. So we could talk about the shit that you do, So it all works in its own mysterious way, however it is. And that's awesome. It's right. It's putting the right sacrifice on time, what you do with your free time, all that for sure. I 100% agree, sir. Good deal. Let's see now, oh man, we're having a lull here. We can't do that. So, and I can edit this out, which now I've got to, so I've got to mark my time. Okay. Sorry, I'm in total brain fart, of course, during this. Now, how old was your first child before, we were mentioning about horror and everything, whether you're oldest, your youngest, or for any of them, what was about the age where you were just like, you can kind of watch horror, you can watch this without really any restriction, I guess is the good way to put it, because also for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't looked up Flash Delirium yet, the new comic coming out, or what Flash Delirium is mainly based on, is a lot more horror-centric.
Right.
Indie noir, very black. The black and white is what I'm digging on for some of the panels that you slipped me to take a look at.
Yeah.
I'm really digging on that. Everybody working on it is doing a great job.
Oh, thanks,
so,
man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that being horror, now, granted, your children are all technically adults at this point, so you don't have to hide but so much. But what was that age where you were just like, if they walk in and watch a Nightmare on Elm Street, they're on their own. There's nothing I'm going to say to them.
I'm going to say it had to be around about between 6 and 7. They were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my kids are smart, man. They were just
fair.
Way smarter than me, and they were good about. I'll put you like this, and this kind of goes back to how I felt about horror too, growing up as a kid. The fantastical stuff like Freddy, Jason, aliens, stuff like that, cool. The grounded horror is what I kind of stayed away from. Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I didn't show them that until they were in their teens.
The more realistic type stuff.
Yeah.
I got
and that wasn't that gory. Freddy was more gory than Texas, but
true.
It was too real, I think.
Fair.
And I because again, like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, those are fun movies, and Jason got some nudity and stuff, I wouldn't let him watch any of that stuff. But,
right.
Like cover your eyes, I'll show them. I think I had the edited version of those I got on cable or something. I was showing, but that was kind of like where I was at with it. But like around about 6, 7, and then like they were smart enough, like they were already breaking down the scenes, like what the effects and stuff. So like, okay, so.
Fair enough on that. So you knew they were your kids when they start breaking down a scene and going, man, I could have wrote a better line than that. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, and I know some parents frown upon, say let the kids watch that. I was like, come on, dude. There's more horrific things on the 6 o'clock news that they
Agreed.
see,
Agreed.
You know, that's just so. I mean, and plus, like, I mean, especially now, man, with YouTube, I can imagine the stuff that children have access to now.
Yeah.
So,
well, and
I never saw a problem with it.
No, and that's why as giving the mutual respect back to, say, like Logan, like I mentioned earlier, where if something is too scary for him, you know, he walks away or he shuts it off and whatever works. And I'm like, that's cool. You know, I'm not going to push my geekiness onto you, you know, if it doesn't make you comfortable. Part of the reason why I say Leland is probably going to be more of my horror movie guy is because I can't remember if I told you this story before but I love telling it, where we were watching like It Chapter 2 and Logan was like, nope, I'm done. And goes into the other room. We're like, cool, we're going to keep watching it as long as you're not in the room. Leland, at one point, stands in front of the TV, starts bawling his eyes out, just crying, does the typical hands over his eyes, looking through his fingers, crying, watching the movie. And as we try to move him away, all he does is step back in front of the TV doing the same thing. He keeps watching while crying, scared.
That happens, you know, but that's kind of like, what is that? It's like they're scared, but like that's the thrill of it, right? Like they want to keep on seeing what happens next. You know,
the intrigue is there. The intrigue overruns the fear of what is going on, and that brings up also too, like you were mentioning, where there have been many talks of this is fantasy. This is not anything that will really come into your bedroom and do anything to you. This is not a real entity, if you will. So, you know, it's just like, I understand if you're scared. It's something new to you. Mm-hmm. It's not going to come hunt you down in the middle of the night. Don't worry about that. You know. Right.
You know, and like most of these characters, like, again, like the big icons like Freddy, Jason, and they've kind of transcended the movies where they're like Spider-Man and, you know, Superman.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
You know, they're just...
They're so easily recognizable that it's not technically scary anymore. We watch those movies more for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, that happens as well. So, also with being a parent then, and with that age, just thinking about stuff, how much is... Because again, you've had a lot more periods of life for the ages of your kids and everything, and you even have some stepchildren as well, you mentioned, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're crossing boundaries there all around, which is cool. That's totally awesome. We love we love the big families here. So on that note though, as being a parent, and also I know I've very little experience with the step parenting aspect. I was almost a step parent, that's why I say that. But also seeing how other friends have done stuff. How does being this type of parent affected what you do with your writing, with what type of project you work on, or is there any influence to it as well?
I don't really see any influence on the writing aspect of it. It definitely, I tell you what it did help me out with, raising kids and stuff. Mm-hmm. It helped me work on movie sets better because, you know, being like a director and stuff, or just being a helping hand on the set, you know, you go in there green, like, dang, how am I supposed to do this? Then you start looking at how the sets ran, like, well, heck, this ain't no different from me, you know, taking care of my kids. So you kind of like, I took parenting, applied that to working on a set.
Fair enough. I'm going to talk to you like you're a 2-year-old right now, very slowly in simple words. Get it done, blah, blah, you know, and hand-holding, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, you got to think, it's the same thing. I mean, when you got children, different personalities. You got to deal with them each individually.
Right.
Same thing working, you know, and I can even apply that to just working, out in a regular job, you know, same thing. So it has impacted me like that. As far as the writing and stuff, I pretty much keep like that separate from the writing because like most stuff I write is a totally different world.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, if it's like anything I've seen so far, I get what you're saying. You know, again, I can't help but brag on these sneak peeks that you've sent me, and I'm really excited to hear about this new project, which I'm going to keep mentioning a couple. I'm glad I've mentioned it a couple times because we'll hopefully get that, like I said, get that at least the title name and the exclusive on when it'll be released and when to look for it on Flash Delirium. So fingers crossed, people, if you're still listening. So, but no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did want to tell whoever's listening, with Flash Delirium, our main goal is we want to do like, the alternative stories. I grew up in stuff in the 80s and 90s. Actually, going back far as the 70s, exploitation, horror, darker superhero stuff. So I say that to say these books are not really for kids.
Neither is this podcast, so that's fine.
Yeah, so that I will say that it is definitely for a
and to be honest,
audience.
taking a look at just even because you've slipped out a couple panels into on the public page as well. I think just even seeing some of those panels, you're like, yeah, probably not the best idea for a 7-year-old. But maybe, I mean, if you're 13, 14, and, that's going to be parental discretion at that point, yeah, for sure. And that's awesome. And that's the whole thing is that where as much as we take care of the kids and everything, and, I've always been a big one thing I've always done on this podcast, I've always preached about community. We're a tribe, and the geeky tribe, all this stuff, and which makes having you on here fun. Let me say that much, because I haven't really. This is my first official interview. Let me throw that out there as well. I've had a couple of friends on. We've talked about projects they do, but this is the first official, actual interview for Geekfathers. So thank you very much for that as well.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
Absolutely, man. No, I'm loving the work, man. Fellow parent, we know where each other stands on stuff. Makes this great. So, with that in mind, for what we try to do to influence our kids, what were, and I'm sure, obviously, we've talked about plenty of them throughout this whole conversation. What were a lot of your influences growing up for you, and that really helped shape not only what you got into, but even helped shape the career for what you do as a writer, things like that now?
Well, a few things. My mom. I always got to
cheers to moms. Absolutely.
Oh, yes,
I'm going to say that right now.
They don't get enough credit. Yeah,
absolutely.
She, I got a lot of because I do art here and there too. That's I got a background in that, and I got it from her. And just, again, my movie knowledge is from her. I mean, she's the one. When she was watching movies, I was, tucked up in her arms watching them with her and stuff, and she, reading stories and stuff. She helped me out a lot on that. Just my love of film, man. Just watching movies, and I like reading, like comic books. I've always read comic books, growing up as a kid. That really helped me. And a funny fact about me is one of my first and favorite comic books is Spider-Woman. I read Spider-Woman. I knew Spider-Man, but Spider-Woman was probably the first comic book I read, and I read it because my cousin had the book. In the I got the book here somewhere, but on the cover it's got her fighting.
Have it?
Well, I don't have that. Exactly. I got a copy of that.
Okay,
I went
same
back and
issue.
bought that
You have
one.
the same issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I got the whole run. Nice. Happy about that.
Nice.
But it's a cover was like her fighting this big melting man monster thing. I thought, this is cool, So she's one of my favorite superheroes,
Nice.
But Dad. When I was in high school, my art teacher, he inspired me too. He's a really smart, intelligent man. And, he kind of opened up my eyes to different things. And kind of all that, man, that's kind of combined together. And that's kept me on a path, man, just want to create. I always like just entertaining people and telling stories.
Good deal.
Another funny thing is Ghostbusters. I was a big Ghostbusters fan as a kid.
Yes.
I had all the toys.
Yes.
And one thing, and this is kind of like my first official gig was, and I think I was in elementary school. I would draw these little Ghostbuster books and write stories. I would pass them on to the class for them to read and get their, they like that.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, though, man. That's cool
thanks,
shit.
Man. I mean, it's like all that stuff. It helps out, man. That's why I'm a big, when it comes to children, their imagination, I'm really big and supportive. When kids show signs, stuff like that, you need to encourage them. And you just never know. I mean, that really can help them out, man.
Good deal, man. Really do appreciate that. All good material, man. The geeky is strong on your side, man. Much appreciated, and I'm really glad to know that the your children, the future generations, are out there, you know, using what they have with the TikToks and blah blah blah. As I talk like an old man and wave my hands around, you know. I mean that's awesome. I mean, and that's what at the very least what I could hope for my boys as well, is that whether I show it to them or they get in, you know. Even if it's a geeky something that I'm not into, but that becomes their geekdom, man, I hope they take it and run, you know, further than what I've done with my stuff. So at the very least.
Oh yeah,
you
definitely.
know.
And they will. I mean, you create that environment for them, man. They watch it, you know, because I mean, they look up to you. You know, you are their heroes. You know, so that it helps. Yeah.
Well, like Logan, maybe he'll become a game tester and stuff because of the way he plays. You know, I'm trying to roll with the punches here because definitely video games was just more of a time passing when he was a baby, and he almost literally just hasn't put down a controller since. And that's where he goes, man. You know.
It's crazy how quick they catch on to that stuff, man. They do, you know what I'm saying? Like, they know way more stuff than I do about games.
Oh, the way he plays, like, we play online sometimes, and I've talked to some of the other GUI guys about this and some friends. He'll hop online and see my brother and I play as well. Like, so all three of us will play together sometimes. And sometimes you've got to play on there with a complete stranger on your team. For like we do some Call of Duty stuff and everything, like first-person shooter. And adults are sitting there going, he's good. And I'm like, yeah, that's my 6-year-old. What? Oh, I'm sorry I said a curse word. I was like, he hears cussing. It's okay. But they're like, dude, that's awesome. Like, he's playing better than most adults out here. And I was like, well, thank you. You know? So hopefully that's something that he takes with him and runs with it, you know? That's the least I could ask for.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Very proud, man. And at this point here, because unfortunately Kyle has not been able to make it onto the show. He was having some technical difficulties. You know, I mean, and that's a lot what I had. Like, I know we wanted to talk about, you know, where I get the feel for introducing you to the Geekfather world and everything. One of the next things I would say before we start really wrapping up here is, I mentioned to you that we do geeky parenting stories. What's a great, you know, you've mentioned a few things how all your kids do, but what's a really, and it could be one of them, it could be all of them. What's that one geeky moment that you had as being a parent with your kid that just was like, you know, we've told stories about where something as simple as a dad made a cabinet, made it look like a Switch, a Nintendo Switch, and the panels open and their controllers were in there, to all sorts of stuff that parents have just done for their kids and just gone above and beyond. I mean, it's really a simple way to put it. What's a great story you've got to share with the people, man?
Well, I got a moment.
Okay.
That comes to mind, and I got to kind of get off topic, but I'm going somewhere with this.
Do it, man. Do it.
When I was a little kid, my cousin, we're about the same age, me and him, like, we were big into action figures. So, you know, we had all that. We had Transformers, G.I. Joes, all that stuff, Ninja Turtles. And what we would do is we would put everything together. We wouldn't separate them by genres, you know, or, you know, by property. Yeah. They're all together.
Yep.
So we made our own little team of heroes. We took all our favorite, like, you know, heroes, put them together and put all the villains together. We made episodes. And what we would do is we would see each other on the weekends. So during the weekdays, we would do our own little episodes by ourselves with our toys. We'd call each other up, say, all right, I did my guy today and this. So the weekend we'll have like our big event one. That'd be the you know, the conclusion to what happened during the week when everybody come together.
That's nice.
And once every month or two, we'd do like the big movie. So like the big, you know, we spent like the whole day doing a big epic battle and stuff. You know, characters would die and all that stuff. So we did that for years and years and years.
Awesome.
Fast forward to now with my kids, like, you know, my son, he was all into the action figures too. And the girls, they kind of liked them. You know, they play with Barbies, but, you know, they kind of like the action figures too. So, they, you know, I couldn't just cut them off. I played, you know, he wanted to play with the action figures. I would sit down and play with them and stuff, and they wouldn't play. So, I kept it going. I would do like the anniversary thing from when me and my cousin did it with Venom, and kind of tied up the loose ends from where we stopped at. And that's just something I think about sometimes.
Well, and that's, to me, based on what you've also been mentioning earlier, is that a lot of that is what carries over to everything.
Right.
And it all comes back. So, I mean, there's, for what your kids are doing, for how you influence them, and that's awesome. That's one of the, that makes a great geeky parent story. And I don't, in my opinion, I guess is the only one that counts on this podcast. But, it's obvious that, the great influence, the stuff that they're doing now, it was the little stuff like that, but a great, where you were able to take something from your childhood, instilled in their childhood, bringing it all together, but, bringing it full circle, if you will, which is pretty awesome, in my opinion. So,
thanks, man. Yeah. It's amazing.
Love it, man.
The little, what I'm saying? The little things like that, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I say the same thing. It's like there's little times where, you like doing a big event for a birthday or something, but it's those day-to-day little, like, even just a hug at the right time type stuff where it's just like, beautiful. That's all I needed today. That gets me through the rest of the day. Let's do something. Let's play a game. Let's get, do some extra video game time. Let's play, let's mess around with this. So, yeah, more power to you, man. That's awesome. A great geeky parenting story there. And that is really gonna about wrap us up for this episode here. So, again, my apologies. Unfortunately, Kyle was not able to make it. I know I mentioned that before. There was technical issues. We were hoping he would join us late, if anything, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. But guys, what was that?
Oh, I said it sucks. We couldn't talk.
Oh, it sucks. Okay. Yeah, I know. Kyle was looking forward to this as well. I'll go ahead and say, because especially like Chris, thank you, because I know we've had to arrange schedules a couple times to be able to get you on here, do the recording and everything.
No problem, man. Thank you. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it, man. Oh.
Absolutely. So, well, do you want to do your own promotion here at the end? Why don't you tell everybody... Well, I'll start you off because I want that exclusive now. I'm determined to get that exclusive. So, guys, we have Christopher Elston here, who is, and your wife's name is... Chastity?
Lassiter, yes.
Lassiter. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Hillel Meat, as who's doing a lot of the pencil and inking for the current project.
Yes, he's in Berlin.
And I was about to say, that's one thing I noticed looking at this stuff was that you guys, not everybody is local. It's independent artists across the pond.
Oh, man, yeah.
Which is pretty fucking cool.
He's amazing, dude. Words can't describe how fortunate we are to get him. He really likes what we're doing. So
awesome. So, guys, check out Flash Delirium LLC on Facebook. The website will be up soon. The new project that will be dropping for free through the website, that's why you got to watch out for when the website is announced through Flash Delirium on Facebook, is because the new project that we've been talking about, Pop Singer, that's the actual title in case I didn't say it right, Pop Singer, will be released for free in, we'll just say March at this point.
Yes.
Through Flash Delirium. A full comic looks awesome. These are some of the panels that you slipped me that are looking really great. The black, white, and the grays, the shadowing is looking freaking phenomenal here. But you said there was a bigger title, if that's the right way to put it, that you guys will be dropping after Pop Singer?
Yes. So this is something we were working on for years, just building it up. And it will be a shared universe scenario. So it will be a very big ongoing thing.
Wow. So hence the secrecy up until now, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a dark superhero story told from the perspective of an anti-hero. So think Watchmen meets The Boys with Pulp Fiction.
So it's going to be fucking bloody.
Yes, it is, and it's gonna be it's gonna be an evolution. It starts out one way and becomes something much bigger. And the title will be Rabbit's Badass Song.
Rabbits?
Yeah, like the animal.
Rabbits?
Yeah, that's the character's name, the Rabbit. Rabbit's Badass Song.
Rabbit's Badass Song. So, guys, for the few listeners that I do have, you've heard it here first. After the big release, the free release of Pop Singer in March, keep an eye out for Flash Delirium. Rabbit's Badass Song will be released. And what's some of the names that will be working on this project? Is it all
same team?
You and your same team as Pop Singer. So, then no argument on my end of that. I think it'll be great anyways before I even see anything. Now, this is something you haven't slipped to us. You're telling me this for the first time right here, right now.
Oh, after the show, I'll send you some stuff.
Send some stuff. We'll share it, and fortunately, we have some time based on when we're recording this to when I actually release this episode. I mentioned at the beginning, guys, keep an eye out for links. I'll put up anything I can to get you so you can see the material straight to Flash Delirium, straight to Chris, everybody else on this. Some awesome fun stuff going on, and just like Geekfather, it's for the parents, not for the kids. These are very, I would say, adult-themed, adult artists or artistry type pictures, whatever, however you want to put it for comics. Not necessarily for the kids, but it can be a great storyline, great, plus, in my opinion, one thing that we've always had here on GUI is that we're supporting independent artists. We're supporting the independent business. So, guys, keep an eye out. Again, a big thank you to Chris here. I can't appreciate this enough, man. Like, I know this was a chance for you to promote your stuff, but just for you taking the time to hang out with me for a Saturday night, no less. We're here. Show what kind of parents we are. We're here on a Saturday night recording a podcast as our kids are doing whatever else. So, but Chris, again, thank you. Any last words before I do my closeouts, man? Anything? Say it now before you have the chance.
Well, first, I want to say thank you again, man, for having me on the show. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. Absolutely. And you're awesome, man, for what you do for the community.
Thank you. I'll say all of us at GUI try that. There are certain showrunners across the board at GUI where we do what we can, because all this podcasting is DIY, just the same as what you guys are doing for the comics for Flash Delirium and everything. So we're making our way as well. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that. My normal closing, guys. Just thank you very much for listening, all my listeners since day one, or if you're a first-time listener, thank you you hopped on a great episode to check out Geekfather. Again, sorry Kyle could not make it, but if you want to check out anything that does have Kyle, of course, just go to www.guipodcast.com. Of course, all of our shows, all the episodes are available through our website or any listening, Spotify, Amazon. I can't even think. I use Spotify personally, so I'll say that. But guys out there, don't forget to check out TeePublic. We still have all of our great designs out there. I believe, speaking of trying to watch out for our community, I believe all of the funds that we get from TeePublic are still being put right back into the Holly Fund for all of our friends and restaurants and everything that are still being affected by the pandemic. So we're trying to watch out for them there. And all the other shows, of course, like I said, if you're from the Mouths of Madness fan, you'll definitely love what we talk about on this and a lot of the stuff that Chris has coming from Flash Delirium. Man, I'm rambling. It's a one big old man tangent. So, guys, again, a thank you to Chris. Thank you to everybody who listens. And don't forget, join us or cry.
Coming straight from the Mouths of Madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm F.U. Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're gonna fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
embrace the madness.
GUIPodcast.com